Hi, I'm Todd Jones. I host the podcast Press Box Access. Here's a clip from my interview with Mike DeCourcy. Mike recalls how and why the national media narrative surrounding Cincinnati's 1992 Final Four team was unfair to the Bearcats.
One of the things that you noticed, especially in that era, was that national narrative concept that would develop around certain teams, and this was true. I remember this was true of Duke Vegas in 1990.
Yeah, I covered that. Yeah, that when Duke upset them the next year, and I remember that narrative was still in play the next year.
And I remember because the Duke guys, kids were great, and I know some of the players that are on that team now. I know Bobby Hurley, great guy, and Allah Abdelnaby is one of the nicest people that you could ever meet. So generous. So there wasn't anything wrong with how they were portraying Duke, but it was the emphasis on the contrast. And I remember sitting there, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm listening to this, and the questions of the UNLV players were so much different than they were, it was clear that what they were trying to present was the Duke players are this upstanding student athletes and all that, and these Vegas kids are these renegades. And I remember thinking, Greg Anthony's as bright as anybody in this building, let alone not just the players but the people. I mean, you could tell the guy was going to have a significant career. He was so sharp. He was so bright. What difference did it make what school he went to?
Right.
And the same thing was true 2 years later when we were at the Final Four in Minneapolis with Cincinnati, Michigan, Duke, and Indiana. And when the Cincinnati press conference was held, if everything that happened could be condensed into one question, it would be, what are you JUCO losers doing messing up our Final Four? That would have been the question if you condense the entire nature of the conversation between the reporters who covered that Final Four and Bob and his players. That would have been what it would be condensed to, because that's how it used to be in covering those sorts of events. Because remember, a lot of the people who would show up at the Final Four weren't necessarily people who covered college basketball day to day.
Right.
You go to a Final Four now, you don't see a lot of those people. You mostly see people who live in the sport, either with the four teams that are there or people who do what I do for various publications.
Yeah, I was at that 92 Final Four, and I remember it just being so unfair. Again, like the generalization, and really, let's get down to it, right? There's race involved in so much of this,
yes.
and I just remember thinking, like, this is not what people who know,
right?
But this narrative is being formed, and that narrative is tough to overcome.